And welcome back to episode 148 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Oh, Carl, how are you doing, my friend?
I am busy, very busy, but
Busy.
surviving.
Good. Same here. Dose of the whatever the lurgy has gone. Normal service has resumed, and also our normal service has resumed with the Tech Rant podcast in terms of the stories that we've got this week. We are going to give you the latest from the FTX car crash court case. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
The several $1 billion worth of crypto which went south and
lost
ain't
our
coming back.
sofa?
I think it might have been. Well, we've got the latest from that and the first convictions that have come from that trial. We'll come talking about it next. We've also got the latest updates from the Apple Scary Fast event, which took place last week, where we had announcements on the iMac, which was probably about the only thing I got right in a while, as well as several other things. We're going to talk X. We're going to talk smart meters, Qualcomm's new Snapdragon X, as well as Apple's buy now, pay later, which I thought was already released, but apparently technically wasn't, as well as one game released this week with Forza Motorsport, and the Tech Rant Rumour Mill, of course, is back as per normal. But let's kick things off then with FTX then. So on the 2nd of November, Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he has been known recently, was sentenced, wasn't he? Sorry, I apologize. Was convicted
Sentence
sentences to come. He was convicted in the fraud trial, wasn't it? The fraud trial. He's been found guilty of fraud, which saw him try and defend himself against the claims that FTX, his crypto exchange, and also the claims against Alameda Research were really not his fault, was it? And he hadn't really committed any wire fraud.
I know nothing.
What was it? 7 charges, including wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering. And he'll be sentenced next year in March and possibly faces... It does, but he possibly faces over 100 years in prison, which I never really understand that, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I had written down decades, but that's a lot of decades. Okay, yeah. Wow. That's just crazy. But you're right. I think it's going to serve as a warning, isn't it? But the jury did not take long to convict him, did they? What, 4.5 hours?
4.5 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty much, yeah. He's guilty, let's get a cup of tea and a coffee.
It pretty much was like that, wasn't it? They did not take long. Now, also his co-conspirators, which was his former roommates, who's also a guy called Gary Wang, who's the co-founder, as well as his former girlfriend, wasn't it? Can't think of her name. Ellison, wasn't it? I can't think of her first name.
It's her last name, yeah, I can't remember
her name. She also is awaiting sentencing. So Wang, Singh, Ellison are all awaiting sentencing next year as well. But it seems that SBF is the one that he's gone down. Now, his defense really was that he had failed to operate a high-risk business. And he also denied, didn't he, that he was supervising any of the updates on the trading platform, including the one that allowed Alameda to spend $65 billion in credit on their research side of things, wasn't it?
Rubbish.
Absolute chaos, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolute rubbish.
And then he was originally under house arrest. He went back to jail in August because he violated his bail conditions, which this is brilliant, which included, wait for this, leaking the diary entries of his former girlfriend. That was it, Caroline Ellison. That was it.
Yes.
Who she also pleaded guilty to federal charges. I mean, talk about an idiot. I mean, the guy is just a complete fool, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, but you get those guys, and they always seem to do very, very well. I just don't understand it. Well, not doing so well now, but I mean. Yeah, he was at one point.
Not really. I mean, if you think about this whole trial, it came by, and really the whole thing unwound, didn't it? Because of that deal that was meant to be done with, what was the other crypto exchange? Binance, wasn't it?
Binance, yeah.
And the whole ring around, the whole thing around that piece around Binance that kind of unwound, really, didn't it? And it was around the blurring of funds, and that the guy who runs Binance, I think his name's Zhao, wasn't it, said he was going to pull out of the kind of the work they were doing with the FTX, and really that kind of was just like pulling on the string, wasn't it? And unraveled the whole house of cards that appeared to be FTX. And again, what we discovered was another Ponzi scheme, really, wasn't it? Ultimately,
yeah. Where's all the money, though? There's large pots of money hidden around, isn't there?
Yeah, and really that we had, what we discovered was that you had a cryptocurrency which was propping up a trading house Almeida, what did you call Almeida Research, wasn't it? And Almeida was basically trading off the crypto that people had in the exchange.
Yeah.
Absolute, complete, and
Just a scam.
utter nuts. And it was a scam because also FTX had made up another coin, hadn't they? Another
Yeah, they
crypto
had their own
coin.
coin.
Yeah, which again was very similar to the whole OneCoin thing that we talked about previously with
OneCoin.
Dr. Rouge again, which was another
You've not got
Ponzi
your eye
scheme as well.
scanned yet.
It's just absolutely bananas that these things continue to happen. And this guy's going to go away for a long time, though I'm sure he'll try and do some deals before that happens in the sentencing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But this guy's going to go away for a long time. And again, we're just, how long do you give it for the next one?
I don't know. I mean, if they give a long enough sentence, maybe that might put people off. But I think that there's always chances, aren't there?
I mean, let's say he gets the rumored 100+ years in prison, which again, nobody goes to prison for 100+ years because I'm sorry, you don't live that long.
No.
They should do what we do here in the UK, isn't it? Which is concurrent sentencing, where they run obviously alongside it. But I guess he wouldn't go to prison for a long time, then, really, would he?
No, probably not. It'll be interesting to see whether there's any fines. Not that I'm sure how he'll pay it back without revealing his money.
Well, didn't his parents have to sell the house they were in? Didn't they? I think that
the
was
house
one of
they
the things.
bought was stolen money.
Well, yeah, yes, the house.
Allegedly.
I don't think any of it's alleged now. I think it's all pretty clear.
I'm still just covering my bases.
I think if you've been convicted and found guilty, I think no one. The alleged part has gone out the door, hasn't it?
I'm talking about where their funds for the house came from.
Oh well, yes, fair play with that. Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, they did have to sell it. Yeah, no, very nice property in the Bahamas.
Oh dear. Right. So we'll give you the latest. We'll probably give you some updates of that later next year when the sentencing happens for all of them, including SBF and his co-conspirators as well. Right then, let's move on then to Apple's scary fast Mac event, which was held on the evening. Or the evening before Halloween, was it the 30th of October?
It did. This was a roller coaster because we had this down as a rumor, and then it wasn't a rumor, and then it was a full-on event, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, but a full-on event held at a really weird time, wasn't it? So
it was held in New York, wasn't it?
Well, yes, but it was still filmed from Apple Park on an iPhone 15, but was shown, as you say, Eastern 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time,
or midnight for us,
or basically midnight for us.
So we did more not than watch midnight that live,
more than midnight, like early hours for us, really. So really, odd timing for an Apple event. Do you not agree?
Very, very, yeah. It's always like 9 a.m., isn't it? California time.
Usually, yeah.
9 a.m. Usually works out about 6 p.m. for us, doesn't it?
It does. And there was nobody on this one. There was no kind of publicly invited in person. It was all done as a slick Apple event as per normal. Yeah. But it was kind of weird because there was things here announced that we didn't expect to be announced, did they?
Yeah. Well, we thought we were getting an iMac, didn't we?
Yeah, I was going to say the cold open I mentioned the iMac. We kind of guessed was coming. It'd been nearly 3 years since that was released.
Yeah, and that was still running the M1, isn't it? It never got an M2 refresh.
It never got an M2. It came out. So give us a rundown then, really, of the top things, and we'll go through them. So what do we get then?
Okay, so obviously we got the iMac. All right, it's the iMac you know and love. Nothing has changed other than you've now got an M3, and we'll talk about the M3 later. But it's only M3. You don't get a Pro or Max, so you're kind of limited to. I think 24 gig of RAM maximum and 2 terabyte SSD, but we'll talk about the chip a bit later. We got new MacBook Pros. Was not expecting that.
No.
Again, exactly the same design. You got the M3 with up to 24 gig and 2 terabyte. You got the Pro and Max. If you went for the Max, you could have 128 gig of RAM and 8 terabyte SSD.
Yeah, we'll cover that, I guess, in a second. But you're right. We got one hell of a spec upgrade, didn't we? On the MacBook Pro.
And if you jump for the Max one, I think, or maybe in Pro, you can get it in matte black now.
Nice, but no more space grey.
No, I think you still got space grey too.
No, they ditched space grey in replacement of space black.
Oh, I think you only got space black on some of the models.
Oh well, the top end, yes. So
top end. So you still get space grey on if you go for like a
lower
standard M3 one. You know what I mean? Yeah, but then obviously we got the M3, which I think was the kind of biggest announcement. It was a bit of a mixed bag, I think, performance-wise, and what you got. As you mentioned, you got the Pro and Max release. We didn't get the Ultra announced, did we?
No. So I was a bit surprised by it. So the M3 probably wasn't as big a shock as expected, because typically we'd have got the base model M3 now. The Pro and Max ones are usually released later on, aren't they?
They are. So
Than what we had now.
A
But
bit of a surprise there to get those.
a bit of surprise. But we've basically got the M3 release. So the M3 is a new 3 nanometer chip, which is the same as the A17s. But this takes the silicon lineup really into its next phase, isn't it? Really. So. And alongside that, as you say, we've got the M3, the M3 Pro, and the M3 Max, which have all been released at the same time. What's interesting here, though, is we've got slightly different spec bumps, haven't we compared to the M2 generation. So the M3 has a base 10-core GPU, which also has up to 24 gig of unified memory, and you can support one external display.
CPU, isn't it?
Sorry, yes, 10-core GPU, the other CPU, sorry, as well. So really and Apple claims is up to 35% faster CPU than the M1, isn't it? And up
to not the M2. We're not comparing to the M2.
No.
It's the M1.
And up to 65% faster on the graphics performance than the M1 as well. And again, supports this odd 24 gig of memory. There we go. Then we bump it up to the M3 Pro, which has got the 12-core CPU with 6 performance cores, 6 efficiency, and an 18-core GPU. Now, what was that? 40% faster than the M1 Pro, and 30% faster than the M1 in single thread gains. And again, you're right, no M2 comparison. And again, we're up to 36 gig of memory on the M3 Pro. Now, this is where it gets interesting. And the M3 Max jumps up to 16 core CPU with 12 P cores and 4 E cores, and a 40-core GPU, which, according to Apple, is a whopping 50% faster than the M1 Max. Yeah. And then to the bit that kind of really surprised everybody, which you said, was 128 gig of unified memory.
Because it used to be 96.
They did.
So they've changed the memory config somehow.
This is humongous. Now, I did hear something interesting about the chips here, was that Apple have been doing different binning on the chips, haven't they? So for the Pro and the Max, effectively with the same chips, weren't they? Really. But they were binned in the sense that some of them had so many cores that were working, some of them didn't. But the interesting thing here, if you notice with these two, that you need to, if you spec up the memory, you have to spec up the performance of the chips. You have to spec up the memory as well to get the higher gains.
Yeah.
And I've read some interesting things to say that actually the binning here also includes the memory chips as well.
Right, okay.
Because if you look at the weird numbers, we've got the 24, the 36, but if you go up to the higher spec, you get the traditional 4x memory.
Because 36 isn't a traditional memory size. 32, no. Yeah, sure.
But nor was 96 as 48. So we had 96, 48 gig of RAM as well.
Yeah.
They weren't traditional specs. They were whereas if you go in the 4s, you get 64.
But at least 96 was a 64.
Sorry, 96. Apologies. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, but that was the odd one out. The rest of them weren't. And I did read. They need to check up on this. That this could be also down to them around the memory controllers as well, the memory chips themselves, because it just seems a really weird spec bump. To have all of these, non-traditional memory sets, and then jump out with 128 gig as well. But more to the point, before we go any further, I mean, what the hell are you running on a laptop that requires 128 gig of memory, up to 8 terabytes of storage, and then plus this, a 16/40 core chip as well?
You're wanting to store all your Linux ISOs in RAM. That's the only thing.
In RAM at the same time, yeah. I mean, and what was you had a look at the pricing on this, wasn't it? So what's that going to set me back?
Oh, I mean, if you go all in, everything, isn't it about £7,000?
I think that's 7,000. I think it was $7,000 plus dollars. I can't remember what the pounds was. I think probably slightly higher, about 7,500, wasn't it? On that,
it was. I did. We were speaking in chat about the base one. But I can't remember. I haven't written it down. I'm sure it was around like £1,700 for 8
I think
gig
it was
RAM
about
256 storage or something very low.
So the other big news around this was by doing so, releasing these new machines, they also killed off a machine, didn't they?
They got rid of the old one. It never made sense. The 13-inch with the touch bar, didn't they? And the crappy butterfly keyboard.
It is indeed. The 13-inch MacBook Pro with touch bar is no more. Instead, we have a now lineup that goes 14-inch M3 chip base model, space grey and silver, and that's your bog standard entry level model, isn't it? Really, which, to be honest with you, that's really no better than a MacBook Air, but you get slightly better display apparently.
Yeah, that was at £1,700.
That's it. And
8
then
gig and 512. Which, who's insane enough to buy that
yeah, exactly. And then
in
we
this
jump
day and
into
age?
well, this is where you'd have to argue with yourself: do I have this or do I buy a MacBook Air? Because when the MacBook Air gets spec bumped to an M3, you've got two similar machines, haven't you? Really?
But again, we don't know how much better the M3 is than the M2 because Apple haven't released those figures yet.
No, they haven't. They haven't at all. And then, like I say, you've got the next model up, which is the Pro or Max chip in 14-inch, which gives you space black and silver. And then, obviously, we bump to the 16, which gives you exactly the same, but in a 16-inch model as well. So Apple have kind of, I guess, we've now have absolutely completed the silicon transition, haven't we? Now it's done.
We have, yeah.
You know, but yeah, the interesting. I think you're right. The whole avoiding the M2 really kind of makes you start to wonder where the specs jumps here as well. Now, you know, the way I look at it is, I think for the majority of people, 9 out of 10 people, if you're running an M1 chip, an M3 chip, there's no need to upgrade. Realistically, is there?
No, not at all. I mean, there were some bumps in the old GPU, weren't there? They brought in Apple's going gaming again. They brought in the hardware ray tracing because obviously we got that on the iPhone 15, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Pros. We got hardware ray tracing, a mesh shading. So they brought that obviously to the M3 chips. We've got what Apple calls dynamic caching. This apparently allocates use of local memory in hardware in real time and only uses the exact amount of memory needed for specific tasks. Just sounds like shared graphics memory to me. Which don't they already
have? A bit, doesn't it?
I mean, it's a shared memory for everything on the M3 because it's all in there. It's not external memory, but they're touting that as a new feature. And they're basically saying, the GPU in the M3 will deliver the same performance as the M1 at half the power or up to 65% more performance at its peak power.
Look, gaming on the Mac is a very contentious piece here, isn't it? Now, I think if we forget gaming and talk more about video editing, then that's great. That sounds awesome, doesn't it? You know, that sounds really impressive, you know, and there's a whole, suite of professionals out there who are probably going, this is quite an interesting upgrade here.
Yeah.
But for your person in the street, excuse me, really, nobody's really going, you know what? I need this M3 now because I was dying to play insert name of game.
Which it probably isn't available on the platform anyway.
Exactly.
No, I think for your average consumer, the MacBook Air, I mean, because you can get that in 13-inch, 15-inch?
Yeah.
Two was a third one. There's no 14-inch, is there?
No, I mean, look, MacBook Air the new Space Black looks fantastic. It comes, it's really nice looking. It's not really black, to be fair, because it's still a sort of anodized, isn't it? The only cool thing is that they've got a new black MagSafe connector as well.
Okay.
That's pretty sweet. But I think for me, upgrading the iMac, because to me, the iMac is Apple's, you want a computer. I don't own anything. I need a computer. Off the shelf, here you go, take it away. And it is a nice looking machine. Now, I know we've talked a lot before about the 24-inch and the need for a bigger screen. And yeah, we all want the 32-inch.
iMac Pro announced.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it will come. But I mean, this was a bit of a spec bump for the MacBook.
Yeah.
We also got the new. I don't know if you saw this as well. The Apple polishing cloth, by the way, that's been upgraded. That's now compatible with everything from the latest MacBooks through to the iMac and the MacBook Retina 12-inch edition from early 2015 as well, by the way.
And how much faster is it than the original version or the Intel version?
God knows.
The other big thing though wasn't it? It was the whole thing was shot on iPhone 15 Pro.
It was. Let's be clarifying this very clearly. It was shot on an iPhone 15 Pro with all of the equipment needed to shoot professionally. So dollies, gimbals, lighting. And Apple put out a really good video, didn't they, on kind of behind the scenes?
Yeah.
But let's be honest, that wasn't your average video rig, was it? That they were sat in?
But it's the same, and this is why I've seen the arguments online. It's the same video rig they would have used if they were using a professional camera.
Correct.
Probably a £50,000 or £60,000 camera, not a £1,500 phone. So
Um,
I kind of think that's still an achievement to get that quality because it still did look slick. I mean, I wouldn't have known it was shot on phone until they told me at the end.
no.
Yeah, obviously it wouldn't look too good without all the rigs, but then I would argue using a professional camera wouldn't have looked as good without all the lighting either.
No, agreed. I mean, and the other thing they had the rigs, didn't they, that with the USB-C Thunderbolt port that was
Yeah,
pumping
straight to
out straight
the
to,
recorded raw to the hard drive, wasn't it? Yeah.
And that was, and I have to say, the video that they showed it was impressive.
Yeah.
You know, it was impressive, and I think it kind of demonstrates the professional quality of the cameras that are there. They even had the iPhone clipped to the drone shot, didn't they? Did you see that?
No, I must have missed that one.
So they clipped the iPhone to the drone as well.
Oh,
So
okay, interesting.
very impressive in that sense of things.
I'm not sure I want to do that myself.
No, no, but demonstrate. I think you're right. It really does demonstrate the how good these cameras really are.
Yeah, of course.
So there we go. So absolutely, impressive work there, but not quite what we expected from Apple from an event. I think we weren't really sure what was coming. The only thing I will say is they've still not updated certain devices with USB-C. There's a whole thing coming for the Magic Mouse, Magic Keyboard, and the trackpad have all still got Lightning ports, haven't they? Which is really frustrating.
They have.
I
And
thought
it's still on the bottom of the mouse.
don't go there. Don't go there. But there we go.
It still boggles my mind. Apple cares so much about ergonomics and all that kind of stuff, and then there's that. It's like they've just doubled down on it. No, it was not a mistake. We're going to keep it there. We will never admit it.
No, Apple are not going to change it. I guess the viewpoint from Apple is if it ain't broke, don't fix. And as far
but
as
it is broke, some would argue.
Yeah, it broke.
It's very broke.
I can't charge my mouse and use it at the same time. It is
try sticking a lightning cable and then using it, and you'll have a broke lightning cable, potentially broke mouse.
It is a little bit nuts in that respect. There's no denying it. I guess though, at some point, Apple will have to come out with a new mouse. Must do. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe when they redesign it, we'll get USB-C
on the bottom or on the front. Or back. Or
your guess is as good as mine.
Oh no, there'll be the Apple. They're bringing out the True Power or whatever they call it. And
yes,
will charge via that. It'll just be a big desktop size one.
Yeah, probably will be. Moving on. Right then, let's talk about X's new subscriptions then, because these things are weird.
Yeah, so we have what the $8 a month, don't we? The one that gives you the blue tick. Okay, so that's now being called. What are they calling that? Premium, I think they're calling it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that includes things like prioritized rankings, more posts between ads, more formatting options, video uploads. You can do longer messages, can't you? You can edit your messages as well, I believe. You can, yeah.
I understand you can. I've not obviously don't pay for it, but I believe you can.
And then obviously they've introduced this in the Philippines and New Zealand, the £1 a year annual subscription, apparently aimed at tackling bot accounts, but that's a whole other subject. But yeah, they've introduced two new tiers. So we've got a basic and a premium plus. Okay. So basic, you get a lot of the features you do currently in premium, but you don't get your blue check mark. But you still get your things like edit posts, longer posts, undo posts, all that kind of stuff. You're just not getting your verified check mark. For some reason, I did not write down what the pricing was.
I did have it somewhere. Hang on a second.
I was too busy trying to figure out what the difference was.
So basic is $3 a month.
That's it.
Premium plus.
This is 16, isn't it? It's double.
Yes, I think that's it. Yes.
Okay, so the other thing you don't get in basic, you don't get Creator Hub. I'm not entirely sure what Creator Hub is, but you don't get it, and you do with Premium and Premium Plus. So I was trying to figure out, what do you actually get with Premium Plus? And the only thing I can see is you actually get no ads for once. But I thought that was meant to be a feature of Premium.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, the idea of no ads does appeal to me.
Yeah, I think with Premium you get less ads. With Premium Plus you get no ads. And apparently you get a larger reply boost over standard or normal Premium. $16 a month is a lot.
Yeah, because so that's it. The current standard prescription, premium subscription was $8 a month, wasn't it? But
so $6 a lot.
I guess this is the way things are going with X, but still for me doesn't.
$3 is the reasonable amount if you want the ability to put longer posts.
Yes, if you want long form, yeah,
and you don't care about verified or whatever. I think that's actually a reasonable price.
Yeah, that might be the only one that is reasonable, to be fair.
But you're still getting the same amount of ads as if you weren't paying.
Yeah, still doesn't. I have to be honest with you, still isn't going to tempt me anytime soon.
No, I'm still not willing to pay. And even that one in New Zealand and Philippines, the $1 a year annual subscription. If you don't pay for that, you only get a read-only account. You know
Weird.
what? I'm absolutely fine with that. I don't actually post on Twitter.
No, that's
So
supposed to
I
be
wouldn't
that.
even hand over the $1 a year if they roll that out globally, and I'm pretty sure they will at some point.
Yeah, I guess that's probably going to come at some point, isn't it? Very true. But there you go. Then. So Premium Plus and Basic now, but still ain't going to get some money from me, Elon.
Nope,
So sorry.
not at all.
Right then, moving from that on to smart meters. Then, so you got a smart meter, haven't you?
I do not have a smart meter in a new
No.
house.
Oh,
No, I did in
I,
the
I,
old one. I do not in the new house.
I've got one, and quite frankly, it's it's terrible. So much so, it faces the wall because I can't bear to see it.
Is it just permanently in red?
Terrible, terrible. So there has become a report come out by the Public Accounts Committee here in the
Yep.
UK that is saying that millions of smart meters are going to stop working when we turn off our legacy 2G and 3G mobile networks, which actually isn't that far away, is it really?
It's not. So we've apparently got 32.4 million smart meters installed, or about 50% of the country's got them, okay, which is, it's not bad. It's a bit of a slow rollout, but we're getting there. But it seems about 7 million of those were built just 2G, 3G only, and no 4G or 5G capability. And our plans are to turn off 2G, 3G, or sorry, there won't be any 2G or 3G support past 2033. I do believe some carriers and stuff will be turning that off earlier. So yeah, that just makes your expensive smart meter install basically dead.
Well, given that you need your smart meter to communicate the billing side of things,
yeah, because they don't have figures on the front. I don't remember seeing that, did they?
What's that? No, what do you mean when you say figures on the front? You mean
so you can't just go and read a manual reader meeting on a smart meter?
Yeah, mine can. You can press a button. So there's meter in the kind of that's I've got the little control unit that sits in the house, shows me how much money I'm spending.
Yeah.
And then the meter obviously that's in the garage. I can press a button on that and it will show me how much the figures.
But where's it getting that from? The energy company or directly from your smart meter?
Well, that's what I mean. The smart meter itself, I can read that off the smart meter in the garage.
Oh, so you can go into the garage. So I thought you were talking about the remote display.
No, the one on the wall. I can press the button on that, and it will
Right.
show me the figures. But
okay,
it
right. does. I couldn't remember. It's been a number of years since I had one. I couldn't quite remember.
But it still then defeats the object of having a smart meter, doesn't it? If you have to go manually read it.
Oh, massively. But yeah, so MPs are not particularly happy about this, are they?
Just another classic technology rollout that nobody thought about, did they?
Well, yeah, but even when we started rolling this out, I mean, when was it? Maybe 10 years ago?
Oh, it's got to be. Because remember, we're on the second generation of them as well, aren't we?
Yeah, well, the first generation were crap anyway. And I presume this is actually the first generation that were the problem.
I would suspect it must be. But I thought most of
they were only linked to one energy supplier, weren't they? And if you change energy supplier, you basically did a new meter putting in.
That's right, yeah.
So the version 2 allowed you to change suppliers, and I presume that brought 4G with it as well.
We hope.
Well, I hope you're right. Yeah, I really hope on that one. But yeah, so the MPs are kind of furious about this and want demanding answers on who's going to pick up the bill. Well, you know who's picking up the bill. One way or the other, it's me and you paying for this, isn't it? All of us are paying for it. Either via our tax or via our energy bill.
It's always the same, my friend. Always the same.
Yeah.
So talking of smart things then, let's moving slightly on to Qualcomm then, who appear to have released what they say is an Apple Silicon beta, isn't it?
And this was a bit of a surprise. I mean, I wasn't kind of expecting this announcement, but yeah, they have announced the Snapdragon X Elite. Okay. And it's a brand new ARM chip. Is it come from? They bought Nuvia, didn't they? Nuvia about 3 years ago.
Sounds about right, doesn't it? Yes.
For 1.4 billion, I think it was, and they were a lot of ex-Apple engineers who worked on the A and M series chips who left Apple, formed Nuvia. Qualcomm bought them. Apple sued. Don't think they won that one. And now, so now they're releasing a It's a laptop chip at the moment, not a desktop, but I'm sure we'll see it to come in it.
No,
You
but
know
it's
what?
pretty impressive though. Even a
It
laptop chip.
looks pretty good. I mean, it's not running the big little architecture. It's all big cores. So you're getting 12 what they call Orion cores. So yeah, all performance cores. They run at like 3.8 gigahertz all core, or if you can boost them 2 cores up to 4.3 gigahertz, up to 64 gig of LPDDR5X RAM. So that's pretty speedy. It's not as speedy as Apple's because don't they quote, I want to say 400 gig a second?
Yeah, Apple goes. Yeah, Apple does 400 gig memory bandwidth. But remember, if that's Apple's is designed from the ground up, isn't it? This is whilst this is as well. It's going to be very difficult to
Yeah.
compete. I think at the
I
minute
think
with
yeah,
that.
they were only saying 136 gig, and it wasn't entirely sure whether that was on the actually on the chip or whether being LPDDR5 maybe their modules, which might explain why we've got a slower speed, but would allow you to upgrade. So it wasn't entirely clear on that one.
No, that wasn't clear. I don't think in the
No, so
in
it's
this
wait, wait,
information that's been
yeah,
released.
they're talking about their Adreno GPU, which had a bit of a bump. It's apparently doing 4.6 teraflops of processing, DirectX 12, much better display port than display support. Sorry, than Apple. You can
Well, that's
have
nothing new.
one internal 4K up to 120 hertz display, along with either three 4K external displays or two 5K external displays.
That's quite impressive.
That's not bad. And it's all hardware accelerated.
Given
Yeah.
given what you need to get from Apple to get that kind of output.
Oh, exactly. And then that's obviously providing they give you enough ports. But it'll be USB C. So as long as you've got enough USB C or HDMI ports, you can make that work with your laptop, couldn't you? I'm sure.
Yeah, but
Um,
interestingly, their best in class CPU and best in class, sorry, the multi threaded performance and single core performance that they talked about um, was initially spec against Intel, wasn't it? On the slides they produced,
it was, yeah.
they
There
did
was
give
some
one about saying,
Geekbench uh, stuff leaked, wasn't there?
yeah, they did say that according to them they're 50% faster than the M2s, as you say, but
Only in multi-threaded though.
yeah,
I
but
think
what
the
they
single
show with
performance was weaker.
Intel looks to be a massive leap above the current Intel 13 series, wasn't it? That they talked about in their
Yeah,
slides.
they were saying what twice the performance of the current i7 1355U. Because we're doing laptops, aren't we? Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's either twice at the same power, or can match their performance while using 68% less power.
I think this could be a real improvement, given what's happening.
Yeah,
But the thing is, though, again, we should. So the ARM revolution has started, really, hasn't it? To
it
be
has.
fair,
Yes.
I think it really has. But what we need to get though is native software performance running on ARM. That's the concern, so isn't it?
Yeah, or a very good translation layer to help us get like Apple have got
Yeah,
Rosetta, is it?
I'm just going to say, if Apple can do it with Rosetta, it's not. It must be. It can't be impossible.
No, well, Microsoft have released one, don't they, that will run x86 or x86 on ARM. Was it probably a year or so ago? When we had the development kits come out, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've not really caught up with how well that one works at the moment. Maybe I need to. I'll have to look into that one. But there
Like you
was
were saying, this could be a perfect work machine. For
exactly. Even without the app capacity, a lot of my work stuff is browser based. So you know what? It'd be absolutely fine. I'm sure it will fly. Obviously, you can tell they were doing the big pitch for AI stuff as well, because of course it's got an NPU in it as well.
Of course, it does. Everything has to do AI. AI or nothing.
Yeah,
AI or bust, isn't it?
exactly. So it's got an NPU. It's got modem built in. They've all got an X65 5G modem built in with Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4. So that's certainly I would argue for a road warrior, someone using it for work, that ability to have a 5G modem just in their laptop would be great.
It's going to say it's ticking all the right boxes again, but software is going to be the problem, isn't it? Ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And I say they've got a decent image signal processor. Will do 64 megapixel cameras and 4K HDR for you. So we might get a decent webcam, maybe.
Mm.
PCI Express 4, NVMe SSDs, a bunch of USB 4 ports, plus the older 3.2s, 4 nanometer, mid 2024 apparently. So it's probably not going to be till has it Christmas kind of time of 2024 before we actually see laptops, and Apple will be on the M4 by then. So who knows how it will compare.
It'll be interesting to see though what the benchmarks are when they come out.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. So yeah, we've only had Qualcomm's announcement, but they'll say there were some Geekbench ones. Some entries appeared in the Geekbench database for this chip, and it was saying, yeah, definitely faster multi-threaded than the M2, but the single thread wasn't as good.
Still, it is progress though compared to what we have had in the past from the ARM versus x86 chips in
It
terms of
is, yeah.
mainstream rather than niche applications. But
I'm
I'm
definitely
impressed.
interested.
Yeah, I am as well. Really could
Because
be. I think could be a real game changer. This if it's as good as it appears on paper.
yeah, I don't mind. I love the performance and power efficiency of Apple. I just don't like OS X, or Mac OS, I should say, as it's called now. Uh, just don't like it. I like the hardware. I like, yeah, the battery life. Just don't like the
Be
OS.
quiet, you heathen. Be quiet.
No, I'm Windows through and through. It's the best
Uh,
tool for me, not for everyone.
yeah, no. Fair play, fair play.
But then I have an iPhone, not an Android phone, so
Well,
because that's
on-
the best OS on a phone for me.
it is. On that note, then talking around Apple, it turns out Apple have taken their Apple Pay Now, Pay Later, Buy Now, Pay Later offering that they had in the US is now apparently out of early access. But I was
That-
convinced this was released.
No, it was announced with iOS 16, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're on 17 now, but no, apparently in I want to say March it went what they called early access. I think you can kind of sign up for it if you qualify. But now it's general available for everyone, and it's
So this is their take on the sort of Klarna and other people where
yeah, very short term. You can basically when you do your purchase, you choose pay now later, whatever it is, and it splits up into four equal payments. So the initial payment is you pay when you actually buy the item, say, and then another payment every 14 days over 6 weeks. 0% interest though, so that's
and you
kind of
don't
handy.
need the Apple Card for this, do you? I believe
No,
this
I
is
don't
separate to that.
think you do. I couldn't see it said you do. So yeah, I think it's handy. But it's an interesting for Apple to kind of get into that game. But I suppose they kind of do something similar with the iPhone upgrade program.
Oh, don't get me started about that. But yes, yeah, definitely. I guess they do. And I mean, the problem is there's a whole. I won't go down that rabbit hole now, but there's a whole kind of issue, isn't there, with these buy now pay later services and how they could be increasing consumer debt and putting a whole generation of people into into money problems. I'm not going to get into that at this second.
No.
I guess if you are for some people it may be the right approach, it might be useful, but it is something I guess you have to be careful about if you're using. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Apple, I suppose, what makes sense for them to have it there, especially if you're paying on your phone and you can tie in your financial services into the phone.
Yep.
Then why not? It's a great tool to use, really, isn't it?
I'd still just like to see Apple Card in this country.
Well, yeah, I would as well, but I just don't think it's going to happen, is it? Given the regulations.
Who
given
runs it now? Is it
it's still the same. It's still Morgan Stanley,
Morgan
isn't
Stanley?
it?
But I think they're looking to get out of it, aren't they? Because they're not.
Well, I think there was talks, wasn't there? They were trying to get rid of them to American Express, wasn't it? But I don't see,
But
given the
Apple
money
just needs to
that
run it
they lost.
itself.
Well, yeah, there is that.
I mean, they've got enough money, surely.
Possibly, given they have trillions in the bank. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure we're ever going to see that. To be fair, but it would be nice. It would be nice.
It's a shame. Oh, right, on to gaming.
Cool. So Forza then. We've been playing. Well, yeah, you've been playing more than me, but Forza is our current game of the month, isn't it?
It is indeed. So it finally released back in
October,
10th of October.
Yeah,
wasn't it? So it's been out a couple of weeks now. I'd say it was not the brilliant, the best of launches, and still with some good patches. I say I'm enjoying it. It's very much like Gran Turismo, isn't it? I'm enjoying the career mode and working my way up. Loving that one. The performance and the graphics aren't amazing.
Debatable.
Sorry, I missed that.
I said it's debatable at the moment. The performance.
It is.
And the graphics.
I would say it doesn't look as good as Horizon 5. And it doesn't run as well as Horizon 5 on the same hardware. Which is odd because I would have, if you just put the two down on what they are, I would have said Horizon 5 is a more demanding game. You've got a lot more going on screen, cars flying everywhere if you're doing off-roading. But I suppose Forza Motorsport is running the simulation, the physics stuff, isn't it, more accurately? So maybe that's taken its toll. But yeah, it just doesn't look as good to me. And it doesn't. I mean, I'm getting 60 frames a second if I'm lucky.
I mean, let's be clear. You're running a 3090.
Yeah.
3070 Ti, obviously here. I had to drop mine down to medium. I had it on high. What was it? The top end one with a couple of tweaks, and I was getting texture issues, as in
Oh, I'm still getting
I,
that. I
the
occasionally,
road,
yeah.
the road disappears.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
not that
where's the
bad. I had the odd like livery on a car disappear and stuff like that, or my window
ah
was turned pink.
well, the having the road disappear was slightly more frustrating because like where am I
Tell me where I
driving?
go. Yeah,
But so turning it down has solved that problem. I mean, I like the game. I think the game's great. Your point around is it Gran Turismo or more to like Gran Turismo? 100% is it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think I've played a motorway game for us that has kind of made all me I thought about was Gran Turismo. I mean, the tracks that we're doing, the leveling up, yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. That's
No.
I'm not going to complain, but
Well,
I I
mm,
I find it frustrating. I think at times, if I'm honest with you.
let's talk about that leveling up, because this is the bit I find frustrating and annoying. Okay, and some of it I can get on with, but some of it I'm just very frustrated about why they've made decisions. So it seems that each car you purchase or whatever has levels of it. Okay, and
That's
those
right. Yep.
levels you only unlock by driving it more. And then when you reach a certain level, it unlocks parts you can buy. Okay, great. I don't have a problem with that part of it. But those parts, those upgrades like bigger wheels, better brakes, more turbos, whatever, you can only buy with CP, which I'm going to presume means car
Oh,
points.
I think it does. Well, CXP isn't there as well?
Uh, there is, but this is just CP. Okay, but you can only earn that by racing with that car. Okay, but the CP that you'll win by racing can only be used on that car it was won with. So
That's
it
right.
makes, even though I've got what at the moment just under $2 million or whatever the currency is sitting in the game, I can't use that to actually upgrade any of my cars. I can only use it to buy new cars, which I then have to
Correct.
start the process again of souping them up.
I find that highly frustrating, and it
Yeah,
really takes away from me the thing. It feels like I see why they've done it. I get it because they want you to build and grow with that car
but
and
that's what the
learn, don't
levels are
they?
for. Then let me, once I've unlocked the parts via up by driving the car more and upgrading the levels, let me buy it with the money I've earned. You didn't give me the money; I earned it by winning races.
It is frustrating, and I think for me, it just takes a lot. It takes a little bit out of it, doesn't it, for
Yeah, it turns it
the
into a
game?
lot more of a grind.
Yes, 100%. It does feel massively like a grind, and maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just me lately, but I don't want instant gratification. Don't get me wrong. I want to have a
No,
game enjoying.
that's why I'm happy with
Um,
the leveling up of cars. I just disagree with the
yeah,
car points thing.
yeah, and do you know what? We'll on the next show we'll talk a bit more about City Skylines 2, which is the other game that's come out recently, which I have had a bit of a negative experience with. Um, but yeah, I look. It's a good game. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
I need to get more into it personally speaking. But yeah, I think as you say, for a car performance game, it's really enjoyable. Now it'd be nice once they've patched it a little bit more. Hopefully, we'll get a bit more playability out of it. The only
Had some
negative
issues
I'll
with doing
say,
multiplayer.
well,
Yeah.
that's the other negative. That's going to say for me at least is the multiplayer side is where the hell is the AI? You know?
Yeah, ton of multiplayer. Okay, so you can have the private multiplayer, you and your friends, but as you mentioned, there's no AI. So it was just me and you playing. It's just me on the track. We've got 22 other spots with no one in them, which is makes it kind of an empty game. But then if you go online, you can't do a kind of an instant race, can you? You have to. They have set times for races to go off, and quite often you've got 20 minutes wait before the main race starts, and in that time you can do practice and you can do qualifier to get your space on the grid. But yeah, sometimes I just want to jump into a multiplayer race and not have to wait 20 minutes to do it, and
That's the
providing it doesn't
thing.
crash.
And like before, we had the opportunity to play it with as you say, with AI. We could run our own races. We could have AI and also uh, you know
Yeah,
people, real people in it. Why? I just want that. I just want to be able to do that. I shouldn't have to.
no,
I shouldn't have to wait 20 minutes to play with
real
other people
people.
that, quite frankly, I'm not interested in playing with.
No, I don't actually want to play them because I've done a fair few the online now. Yeah, so we were saying, yeah, as with all these online ones, we're playing people you don't know. You get a real kind of mixture, don't you? And I've been on a fair few races where people are just barging you out the way and running you off the track, or you brake for a corner and they just go full speed, 150 miles per hour, straight up at the back of your car.
Yeah, it's not an enjoyable
Yeah.
experience.
And it's not, and they don't always seem to get a penalty for that. The penalty system seems to be a bit hit the miss.
Doesn't it just? It really does. I have to say, that's it. Yeah, sometimes you kind of go off the track and you get nothing. Next time you basically look at the rumble strip and you're given a 30-second penalty or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that one about going off track is more to do with, did you gain an advantage or not?
Possibly
Did
so.
you
Yeah.
jump a space? Then you probably get a penalty for it. But I don't think the penalties are big enough. The penalties only seem to be like, I think the most penalty I've had driving really badly, not online, I mean, as in even a single player game, was about 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, really well, really odd game. But
Yeah.
apart from that,
But the whole ramming and crashing and
oh,
unprofessional thing, I've not really seen anyone get very much at all on that. And they kind of run you off, and that ruins your entire race. You've lost it. You're at the back, and you're not gaining it again.
no. Okay, well, I think more to be played, but yeah, early. I think early indications are it's definitely a good game, isn't it? A successable game
Yeah,
and a worthy.
we just need another 22 friends.
I struggle with 2, but anyway. On that note, right then, what do we got in the room meal this week?
Well, it's a very ARMy week this week. So we've had the Apple with their new ARM chips. We've had Qualcomm with its Snapdragon ARM chips. And not to be left out, NVIDIA and AMD are also getting into the game. They've kind of a report from Reuters suggests that both of them are gearing up to build their own ARM CPUs to power Windows PCs. They're due as soon as 2025, so not long after Qualcomm will apparently release theirs. There's zero information other than that at the moment on that, but we do know Intel have basically gone, I'm not worried about ARM. We're carrying on with x86.
I love Pat's Pat Gelstinger's absolute belief and confidence in himself that nobody's going to challenge him.
Yep, but we'll build your ARM chips for you.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
We'll fab them and take the money, but we're not going to build.
We're not worried about you. We're not worried about you, but we'll quite happily take your business. That is no problem at all from where we sit. Yeah, but
I think if NVIDIA and ARM, and I'd be very interested to see NVIDIA's take on it. Because if you could build NVIDIA's current stuff with a kick-ass CPU as well, that could be a very compelling offer.
That could be very impressive, couldn't it? Really.
But it's NVIDIA, so it'll be ridiculously expensive.
That's very true. But it'll be great for AI work.
No, they'll look at Apple and go, "Hold my cup."
Yeah.
Hold my beer, I should say. You ain't seen nothing yet.
No, that's very true. But okay, well, I guess why not? It would be impressive, and I think as I said, the dawn of ARM for mainstream use is here. It's happening. We are seeing more and more of it. Getting NVIDIA and AMD in that ring as well, I think we again just push it forward even more so than what we've seen previously. But yeah,
I think with NVIDIA and AMD, for Windows, you're likely to get much better driver support. I mean, Qualcomm's driver support is questionable even on Android.
True, AMD would not have that problem at all.
NVIDIA and AMD, you're going to get some consistent drivers. It will be supported for quite a few generations. I imagine.
Which is what it needs to be honest, to be
exactly
kind of viable,
be mainstream.
Well, I think then on that note, then that's probably a good place for us to wrap up for today. Then we'll be back next week for episode 149 for all of the latest from the tech stories. It may be a week or so's time, given some travel constraints.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you can still find us on X. Yes, we are still there. Weekly Tech Rant. All of our show notes at techrant.online. Of course, we'd love to hear what you've got to say about the show or any thoughts on stories for this week. And with that, then, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good day, all.